Beirut, a city eternally beautiful, yet perpetually scarred, pulsed with a restless energy. Its ancient stones whispered tales of resilience, but its modern facade bore the fresh wounds of unending conflict. In the shadow of its vibrant markets and war-torn districts, a different kind of power flourished, insidious and deeply rooted: Hezbollah. Their elusive leader, Hassan, was a phantom, his influence a suffocating blanket over the region, his ruthlessness legendary. He moved through the city's labyrinthine alleys and opulent villas with impunity, a ghost in plain sight, orchestrating terror with chilling precision. For the Mossad, Israel's legendary intelligence agency, Hassan was an open wound, a constant gnawing threat that demanded neutralization. Their desperation was palpable, a silent scream echoing through their sterile, secure headquarters. Among their ranks was Ilara, a brilliant operative whose sharp intellect and unyielding resolve were matched only by the profound sorrow etched deep within her eyes. Her past was a landscape of ashes, a personal tragedy directly attributable to Hezbollah's brutal efficiency. Years ago, a targeted attack had stolen her family, leaving her with a void that only vengeance, she believed, could fill. This deep-seated, simmering rage fueled her every move, sharpening her focus, yet simultaneously haunting her quiet moments. The Mossad had tried repeatedly to reach Hassan. Their finest agents, their most advanced technology, had been deployed, only to be met by an impenetrable wall of security. Hassan was a master of evasion, his network of loyalists and informants forming an unbreachable shield. Each failed attempt amplified the political pressure on the Mossad's directorate. Governments whispered, newspapers clamored, and the agency's reputation, once unassailable, began to fray. Something radical, something audacious, was needed. The plan, when it was finally conceived, was breathtaking in its audacity, terrifying in its risk. Impersonate Lebanese soldiers. The idea hung heavy in the air of the briefing room, a dangerous gamble that could either deliver triumph or ignite an international inferno. Ilara felt a visceral jolt, a cold knot of apprehension twisting with a grim, almost eager determination. Her mind raced, calculating the odds, the myriad ways it could go wrong. Yet a part of her, the vengeful part, saw a glimmer of possibility. Ethical dilemmas swirled within the Mossad leadership. Impersonating the military of a sovereign nation, even one indirectly hostile, was a line rarely crossed, fraught with diplomatic peril and the potential for catastrophic blowback. Yet, Hassan's continued existence outweighed these concerns in the cold calculus of national security. The decision was made. A grueling, clandestine training regimen began for the chosen unit, a hand-picked team of Mossad's elite, Ilara among them. They were drilled relentlessly, not just in combat and infiltration, but in the minutiae of Lebanese military life. Every gesture, every vocal inflection, every crease in a uniform was scrutinized. Ilara, despite her burning desire for justice, wrestled with the deception. The thought of dishonoring legitimate soldiers, men who often fought for their own country's stability, chafed at her conscience. Yet, the ghosts of her past pushed her forward. Intelligence flowed incessantly. Detailed blueprints of Lebanese army barracks, photographs of officers, recordings of their daily chatter. They absorbed it all, transforming themselves, piece by painstaking piece, into their new identities. They even delved into Hassan's personal life, studying his routines, his family, his few moments of vulnerability, aiming to strip away the myth and reveal the man. The target operation was selected, a high-value convoy route Hassan frequently used, a narrow stretch of road flanked by dense urban sprawl, offering both cover and constraint. The final briefing was stark, the director's voice devoid of emotion as he underscored the zero tolerance for failure. The weight of the mission settled upon each operative, heavy and suffocating. As Ilara prepared for deployment, her comms unit buzzed. A coded message, encrypted and untraceable, flickered onto her screen. It was from an unexpected source, a contact long dormant, hinting at an internal betrayal within the Mossad itself. The chilling realization hit her like a physical blow. Their meticulously planned high-stakes operation might already be compromised. A shadow, darker than Beirut's night, had just fallen over their mission, The hum of the transport vehicle was a low thrum against Alara's boots as the Mossad team, now indistinguishable from Lebanese soldiers, infiltrated the designated sector. Every shadow lengthening in the pre-dawn light seemed to hold a hidden threat, every distant dog bark a potential warning. Her senses, honed by years of covert operations, were on a razor's edge. But beneath the professional calm, a storm of unease brewed. This deception, this elaborate charade, gnawed at her. She was a soldier, bound by a code, and impersonating another nation's military felt like a profound violation, a desecration of the uniform she now wore as a lie. Their initial interactions with genuine Lebanese soldiers were a masterclass in controlled tension. A nod here, a shared cigarette there, a brief, gruff exchange about patrol routes. Each word was carefully chosen, each gesture practiced to perfection, yet the facade was fragile. A fleeting glance from a young Lebanese corporal lingered a fraction too long on the way one of Alara's teammates adjusted his rifle. A small, almost imperceptible mistake, but enough to prickle Alara's nerves. Then came the close call. A curious Lebanese officer, his eyes sharp and probing, approached their makeshift checkpoint. He inquired about their unit, his tone casual but his gaze assessing. Alara, her heart a drum against her ribs, stepped forward, her voice calm and authoritative as she fabricated a story about a last-minute deployment change, her quick thinking narrowly averting a catastrophic exposure. The officer, satisfied by her unwavering confidence and detailed explanation, eventually moved on, leaving Alara's palms slick with sweat. The psychological toll of maintaining this intricate deception was immense. Hours stretched into an eternity, each minute a tightrope walk over an abyss of exposure. Her mind drifted back to her training, not the physical drills, but the sessions focused on psychological warfare, on the art of becoming someone else, of inhabiting a lie so completely it felt like truth. They had been taught to compartmentalize, to bury the self beneath the mission, but Alara found the weight of it crushing. Then the static crackled in her ear. Convoy approaching. 5 minutes. A palpable sense of dread, cold and heavy, settled over the team. This was it, the moment of truth. Through her binoculars, Alara saw it first. A column of armored vehicles, their headlights cutting through the fading darkness. And there, nestled securely in the center, a vehicle she recognized from countless intelligence photos. Hassan, his presence confirmed. A chilling visual that hardened her resolve. "Initiate!" The command came, sharp and clear. A momentary hesitation rippled through her team. One operative, a young recruit named David, faltered, his eyes wide with a fear Alara understood all too well. But there was no time for doubt. With a decisive shove, Alara pushed him forward, her own resolve a steel rod. The world erupted. Explosions tore through the night, followed by the staccato rhythm of automatic gunfire. Chaos descended, a maelstrom of light and sound. But almost immediately, a horrifying realization struck them. Hassan's security detail was far more prepared than anticipated. Their return fire was coordinated, intense, and deadly accurate. This wasn't a simple ambush. It was a pitched battle they were quickly losing. Then, a critical piece of intelligence screamed through their comms, a panicked voice overriding the cacophony. "Target vehicle changed. Hassan is in the second-to-last armored transport, not the lead." Their meticulously planned strategy was instantly in disarray, forcing immediate, desperate improvisation. As Alara scanned the unfolding pandemonium, her eyes darted across the faces of Hassan's guards, searching for any tactical advantage. And then she saw him. A face that stopped her cold, a ghost from her past moving with lethal precision among Hassan's men. Elias. The chilling realization hit her like a physical blow. The betrayal ran far deeper than she had ever imagined. The ambush, intended as a swift, decisive strike, had devolved into a brutal firefight, a chaotic ballet of bullets and screams. The Mossad team, caught in the unexpected ferocity of Hassan's defenses, found themselves severely outnumbered, their initial advantage evaporating in the face of overwhelming force. Alara, her senses ablaze, moved with a lethal grace born of years of training, and a primal instinct for survival. Her rifle barked, each shot precise, each movement economical, a desperate dance to keep her team from being completely overrun. She pulled a wounded operative behind cover, returning fire with a calculated fury that belied her inner turmoil. Her gaze, however, kept returning to that familiar face among Hassan's guards. Elias. The name echoed in her mind, a discordant note in the symphony of battle. He moved with a practiced ease, his movements fluid and deadly, undeniably a product of the same Mossad training that had forged her. A flashback, sharp and unwelcome, pierced through the chaos. A dusty training ground, the two of them side by side, their movements synchronized. A bond forged in shared purpose and whispered secrets. Elias had been more than just a colleague. He had been a confidant, a fleeting flicker of warmth in the cold world of espionage. Their complicated relationship, a mixture of professional respect and unspoken affection, had ended abruptly when he vanished years ago, presumed dead after a botched operation. To see him now, alive and actively fighting against her, was a betrayal that twisted a knife in her gut. Then, his voice, chillingly calm and familiar, cut through the comms, overriding the frantic chatter of their own team. Well, Alara. Still chasing ghosts, are we? Some things never change. His taunting remarks confirmed it, a cold, hard truth settling in her heart. He wasn't just a survivor, he was a turncoat, a traitor. The emotional impact was staggering, a momentary lapse in her focus that almost cost her dearly as a bullet whizzed past her ear. The desperate struggle intensified. Hassan, sensing the disruption, was attempting to escape, his armored vehicle peeling away from the main convoy. A new layer of urgency added to their already precarious situation. Around Alara, the Mossad team was taking heavy casualties. The shouts of pain, the growing silence of fallen comrades, amplified the sense of hopelessness that threatened to consume them. But Elias's treachery, his mocking voice still ringing in her ears, sparked a raw, unbridled rage within Alara. It was a fury that sharpened her focus, transforming despair into an unyielding determination. Tactical retreat! The command blared through her earpiece, but Alara barely registered it. Abandon the mission? Not now. Not when Hassan was within reach, and not when the architect of her new pain was so brazenly before her. She broke off from the main group, her movement swift and decisive, pursuing Hassan and Elias through the chaotic, smoke-filled streets of Beirut. The perilous chase was a blur of dodging gunfire, weaving through debris, and navigating the labyrinthine alleyways that offered both cover and concealment. Her internal monologue was a torrent of questions, a desperate attempt to reconcile the Elias she knew with the traitor she now faced. Why? How? The cold realization solidified. Elias must have been the source of the compromised information, the unseen hand that had sabotaged their meticulously planned operation. He had known their tactics, their vulnerabilities. The chase culminated in a narrow, dimly lit alleyway, the air thick with the smell of dust and cordite. Hassan's vehicle was momentarily stalled, its path blocked by a collapsed wall. Elias, acting as a rear guard, turned, his weapon raised, his eyes meeting Alara's. The dramatic confrontation was inevitable, a clash of past and present, loyalty and betrayal. You always were predictable, Alara, Elias sneered, his voice devoid of the warmth she remembered. Still fighting for a cause that doesn't care about you. He revealed his motivations then, a twisted narrative of disillusionment and a desperate, misguided sense of revenge against the Mossad itself, accusing them of abandoning him. They left me to die, Alara. What loyalty do I owe them? He spat. Alara was faced with an impossible choice. Neutralize Elias, the man who had been a ghost of her past and now a venomous presence in her present, or continue pursuing Hassan, the ultimate target. Before she could fully process the dilemma, Elias delivered another blow, a devastating secret about Alara's past, a detail so intimately painful that it shook her to her core, threatening to unravel her carefully constructed resolve. Alara's world tilted on its axis. Elias's words, sharp as shrapnel, pierced through the layers of memory she had meticulously built to protect herself. He had spoken of the very day, the specific coordinates, the precise timing of the car bomb that had claimed her family, twisting the knife further by implying Mossad's direct, albeit unintended culpability through a botched operation. It was a painful memory, one she had consciously suppressed, burying the raw agony beneath a hardened veneer of professionalism and a thirst for vengeance. Now, it was unearthed, bleeding afresh, and in the chaos of battle, it weakened her resolve, leaving her momentarily vulnerable, a chink in her formidable armor. Elias, ever the opportunist, seized on this emotional paralysis. He lunged forward, his movements fluid and practiced. A ghost of the partner he once was, now a deadly adversary. The alley erupted into a brutal hand-to-hand combat sequence, a silent, desperate dance of death. Ilara's fighting style, a furious blend of Mossad's rigorous training and the raw, untamed power of her grief and rage, met Elias's cunning. He knew her tells, her preferred moves, her subtle hesitations, knowledge gained from countless hours of drills and real-world missions they had shared. His familiarity made him a uniquely formidable opponent, each block, each parry, a bitter reminder of their intertwined past. He exploited her momentary emotional disarray, landing a glancing blow that sent a shockwave of pain through her arm. The fight culminated in a precarious standoff, both combatants injured, bodies aching, breath ragged but eyes still burning with an unyielding fire. They circled each other, silhouettes against the flickering light of distant fires, the air thick with tension. Ilara, desperate, made a last desperate plea, her voice a low growl. "Elias, this isn't you. Remember what we fought for." She appealed to their shared past, the ideals they once believed in, the sacrifices they had made together. But Elias merely sneered, his face contorted by a deep-seated bitterness. "Those ideals died the day they abandoned me. And they almost abandoned you too, Ilara. Hassan is planning something big, something that will make this ambush look like child's play. He's targeting the presidential palace tomorrow morning." The revelation hit Ilara like a physical blow, a critical piece of intelligence dropped into the crucible of her personal conflict. Elias, in his twisted retribution, had just handed her a lifeline, a reason to push past her immediate, blinding rage. The choice was agonizing. Personal vengeance against the man who had ripped open old wounds, or the urgent duty to prevent a catastrophic attack. Her conscience, honed by years of service, screamed for the latter. The mission, the lives of countless innocents, outweighed her desire to make Elias pay. With a surge of renewed focus, Ilara disarmed him with a swift, brutal maneuver, the clang of his weapon echoing in the alley. She had him at her mercy, her knife poised at his throat, the memory of her family's screams a deafening roar in her ears. Yet she couldn't bring herself to deliver the final blow. It wasn't pity, but a profound moral conflict. Killing Elias here, now, felt like a concession to the very darkness that fueled him, a descent into the same abyss of revenge that had consumed him. It was a moment of agonizing restraint, a testament to the core of who she was, despite the pain. Elias, seeing her hesitation, seized the opportunity. With a desperate lunge, he slipped away into the labyrinthine shadows, leaving Ilara with a profound sense of anguish and unresolved anger, a wound that might never truly heal. She stood there, momentarily alone, the weight of his betrayal and his chilling revelation pressing down on her. But there was no time for self-pity. Hassan, the presidential palace, tomorrow morning. Ilara gathered herself, pushing aside the personal demons, refocusing on the primary target. The updated intelligence about Hassan's planned attack added a terrifying urgency to her pursuit. She contacted the remaining Mossad team, her voice strained but clear, relaying the new critical information. The team, battered and depleted, regrouped, their determination rekindled by the fresh threat. A new, more dangerous plan of action began to formulate in Ilara's mind, born out of necessity and a desperate race against time. Ilara and her depleted team raced against the relentless clock, every second a precious commodity, to prevent Hassan's devastating planned attack. The intelligence pried from Elias, a bitter pill to swallow, confirmed a devastating target: the presidential palace and an imminent timeline that left them with mere hours. The Mossad team, though battered and numerically disadvantaged, utilized their remaining resources, sending urgent, coded requests for aerial support and reinforcement, though they knew it would be a long shot given their exposed position. The logistical nightmare of navigating a war-torn city under such extreme pressure began to unfold. Every street corner held potential danger, every civilian vehicle a possible threat. The air was thick with the scent of dust, fuel, and the lingering acrid smell of recent conflict, a constant reminder of the chaos that surrounded them. Ilara's mind, despite the urgency, flickered back to her intensive training in urban warfare and rapid deployment. She recalled simulated scenarios, the meticulous planning, the emphasis on adaptability when everything inevitably went wrong. Now, those theoretical lessons were grim reality. The emotional toll on Ilara was immense, a crushing weight of responsibility for the mission, compounded by the fresh wounds of Elias's betrayal and the specter of her personal demons. A fleeting moment of doubt, cold and insidious, crept into her thoughts. Could they truly succeed? Was this a fool's errand, a desperate gamble against insurmountable odds? She pushed it down, deep within, refusing to let it fester. There was no room for hesitation now. Their frantic journey was punctuated by unexpected resistance. Militiamen loyal to Hassan, or perhaps simply opportunistic bandits, appeared from the shadows, forcing them to fight their way through narrow, debris-strewn alleys. Each skirmish, though brief, chipped away at their already dwindling ammunition and energy. The increasing proximity to Hassan's anticipated location created a palpable tension, a hum of dread that vibrated through every member of the team. Ilara, drawing upon her intimate knowledge of Beirut's labyrinthine backstreets and hidden passages, led the way. She remembered the city from brief clandestine visits, from detailed satellite imagery, and from Mossad intelligence files that mapped every sewer line and forgotten alleyway. Her memory, photographic and precise, became their most valuable asset. They made a risky maneuver, bypassing a heavily fortified checkpoint by using a forgotten underground tunnel, emerging into a bustling market district just as a patrol passed by, their hearts pounding in their chests. A close call with civilian casualties sent a jolt of horror through Ilara. A stray bullet from a distant exchange ricocheted dangerously close to a child playing in the street. The moral stakes of their mission, already sky-high, were amplified. Every decision carried the weight of innocent lives. Ilara's leadership, though quiet, shone through. Her unwavering focus, her calm commands, and her tactical brilliance inspired her weary, bruised team. They looked to her, their hope flickering, but still present. Finally, the target location was identified, a sprawling, densely populated area surrounding the presidential palace. The chilling realization solidified in Ilara's mind. Hassan's attack was designed to maximize civilian casualties, to sow terror and chaos on an unimaginable scale. Elias's information was accurate, terrifyingly so. Ilara formulated a desperate, last-ditch plan to intercept Hassan, a high-risk strategy that relied on speed, surprise, and a prayer. It was audacious, bordering on suicidal, but it was their only chance. The team prepared for a direct assault, each member understanding the gravity of their situation, knowing this might be their final mission. A final heartfelt exchange passed between Ilara and her remaining team members. Unspoken fears and unwavering loyalty communicated in glances and grim nods. Then, the chilling sound, faint at first, then growing louder, of Hassan's convoy approaching the target area, a harbinger of imminent destruction. The race was almost over. The air vibrated with the low rumble of Hassan's approaching convoy, a predatory growl that promised devastation. Ilara, her heart a drumbeat against her ribs, gave the signal. Her team, a ragged but resolute band, launched their desperate assault, a furious burst of controlled chaos against the overwhelming force of Hassan's security detail. The night exploded into a maelstrom of gunfire, the sharp cracks of automatic weapons ripping through the humid air, punctuated by the concussive blasts of grenades. Screams, both of terror and defiance, mingled with the metallic clang of ricocheting bullets. Ilara moved with a lethal grace, her singular focus a burning tunnel vision, reach Hassan at all costs. She wove through the pandemonium, a blur of calculated violence, her movements economical and precise. Each enemy combatant was a momentary obstacle, dispatched with swift, brutal efficiency. She felt no hesitation, no moral qualms, only the desperate urgency of her mission and the raw, emotional intensity of her personal vendetta merging with her unwavering sense of duty. The faces of her fallen comrades, the image of Elias's betrayal, and the ghost of her past tragedy fueled every strike, every parry. Suddenly, through the smoke and flashing muzzle light, there he was. Hassan. He stood near a heavily armored vehicle, directing his men with an almost casual authority, his face a mask of cold composure amidst the carnage. Their eyes met across the chaotic tableau, a direct confrontation that seemed to momentarily silence the battle around them. Hassan offered a faint mocking smile, a gesture of contempt that ignited a fresh surge of fury within Ilara. "The Mossad's finest," he sneered, his voice surprisingly calm over the din. Reduced to this desperate display. Pathetic. He began to speak, his voice laced with a chilling self-righteousness, revealing his deeper motivations. He spoke of historical injustices, of a twisted ideology of vengeance that justified any atrocity, any civilian casualty. He saw himself as an avenging angel, a liberator, not a terrorist. His words were a mirror image of the very pain and loss he had inflicted, a chilling echo of Ilara's own personal vendetta, but amplified and distorted into something monstrous. Ilara's internal struggle to maintain control was immense, a silent battle against the urge to let her emotions overpower her, to unleash the raw, animalistic rage that simmered beneath her disciplined exterior. She needed him alive, or at least coherent, for a few more moments. Then, the final brutal fight commenced. It was a clash of ideologies and personal histories, a dance of death between two individuals who, in different circumstances, might have understood each other's pain. Hassan, despite his cool demeanor, was a formidable opponent, surprisingly agile and strong. He fought with a fanatic's conviction, believing himself untouchable. Ilara, however, used her rigorous training and ingenuity, exploiting Hassan's overconfidence, his belief in his own invincibility. There were near misses, moments where the outcome hung precariously in the balance. A knife glinted past her ear, a punch grazed her temple. But Ilara's focus never wavered. She saw the openings, the subtle tells in his movements. Slowly, meticulously, she gained the upper hand, pushing Hassan back, cornering him against the wrecked remains of a civilian car. With a desperate, animalistic roar, Hassan attempted a final escape, revealing a hidden escape route, a narrow, almost invisible passage leading under the presidential palace's outer wall, likely known only to a select few. Ilara, anticipating his move, pursued him without hesitation into the dark, confined space, the sounds of the battle fading behind them, replaced by the echo of their ragged breaths. The passage was claustrophobic, a tight crawl through darkness that felt endless. Finally, they emerged into a small, forgotten chamber, illuminated only by the faint flickering light filtering in from a distant grate. Here, in this forgotten corner, the final, decisive moment arrived. Ilara had Hassan at her mercy, her weapon trained steadily on his chest. A brief, silent exchange passed between them, an understanding of hatred, of loss, of the grim inevitability of their collision. Hassan's eyes, once mocking, now held a flicker of something akin to fear, or perhaps resignation. Ilara's face was unreadable, a mask of grim determination. She made the difficult, irreversible decision, her finger tightening on the trigger. The sharp crack of the gunshot was swallowed by the thick walls, followed by a sudden, profound silence. Hassan crumpled. The immediate aftermath was a deafening quiet, a void where the chaos had been, leaving only the ringing in Ilara's ears and the heavy thud of her own heart. The immediate silence after Hassan's neutralization was a moment of profound relief, swiftly followed by an overwhelming wave of exhaustion. Ilara stood over the fallen leader, her breath ragged, the acrid scent of gunpowder stinging her nostrils. She surveyed the scene, the cost of the mission starkly evident in the widespread destruction, the smoldering wreckage, and the still forms of fallen comrades scattered amidst the debris. Each lifeless body was a painful reminder of the sacrifices made, a heavy weight on her soul. Soon, the remaining Mossad team members, battered but alive, converged on their position. Relief washed over their grim faces as they confirmed Hassan's neutralization, a quiet, almost reverent acknowledgement of their success. Yet, the victory felt hollow, tinged with an inescapable sorrow. There were no cheers, only the weary sighs of men and women who had faced hell and barely emerged. Ilara watched them, her own internal processing of the events a turbulent storm. The mission was accomplished, the target eliminated, but the anticipated peace, the sense of closure she had so desperately sought, remained elusive. Instead, new questions, thorny and persistent, began to surface. The ethical ambiguities surrounding their impersonation of Lebanese soldiers, the deception they had maintained, gnawed at her. Reporting back to Mossad headquarters was a sterile, detached affair. Ilara detailed the mission with precise military efficiency, omitting the raw, visceral terror and the emotional toll it had taken. The initial celebration from the Mossad leadership was palpable, a wave of congratulatory messages, but even their triumph was tempered by the grim casualty reports. Ilara, however, found no solace in their praise. Her personal reckoning with revenge had begun, and she was realizing, with a chilling clarity, that it hadn't brought her the promised peace. The gaping wound left by her lost loved one remained, unhealed, untouched by Hassan's demise. The lingering presence of Elias's betrayal was another persistent ache, a festering wound that refused to close. During a private debriefing with a high-ranking Mossad official, Ilara revealed Elias's involvement, his treachery, and the critical intelligence he had provided, however unwillingly. The revelation sent ripples through the intelligence community. The Mossad, known for its ruthless efficiency, immediately initiated a new internal investigation into Elias, a hunt for a ghost that had once been one of their own. Ilara's future within the Mossad now hung in the balance, a moment of profound introspection. The path of a field agent, steeped in violence and deception, felt less appealing than ever. She found herself yearning for something different, a way to honor the fallen that didn't involve perpetuating the cycle of bloodshed. She visited the families of her fallen comrades, a solemn procession of grief and shared sorrow. She offered her condolences, her presence a silent testament to their sacrifice, sharing their pain in a way only those who had been there could. Later, in a quiet moment of reflection, she gazed at a photo of her lost loved one, their smile a bittersweet memory. The realization settled heavily upon her. While Hassan was gone, the underlying currents of conflict, the cycle of violence that had claimed so many, continued unabated. This war was bigger than one man, bigger than one mission. Just as this thought solidified, a cryptic message arrived on an encrypted channel from an anonymous source. It was a single, chilling phrase, hinting at Elias's next move, a shadow lengthening across the already troubled landscape. The hunt, it seemed, was far from over. The cryptic message, a whisper across the digital ether, solidified Ilara's resolve. Her future with the Mossad, once a clear path of relentless pursuit and calculated vengeance, now presented a fork. She chose a new direction, not one of escape, but of transformation. Her personal reckoning had led her to a profound truth. True redemption lay not in perpetuating the cycle of violence, but in actively seeking to prevent future tragedies. The visceral satisfaction of Hassan's neutralization had been fleeting, replaced almost instantly by a deeper, more enduring ache. She would honor her fallen and her lost loved one by building, not destroying. Ilara embraced a new role within the Mossad, one that focused less on the sharp edge of direct action and more on the intricate dance of counterintelligence and the prevention of betrayals. Her unique insights, born from the raw experience of Elias's treachery, made her an invaluable asset. The internal investigation into Elias, which she had initiated, began to unravel a far wider, more insidious network of corruption within the intelligence community, a web of compromised loyalties and self-serving ambition. With unyielding determination, Alara became instrumental in dismantling this clandestine network. Her focus shifted from the battlefield to the shadow archives, from the immediate threat to the systemic vulnerabilities. She meticulously analyzed patterns, identified weaknesses, and developed strategies to fortify the Mossad's defenses against internal threats. It was a quieter, more cerebral fight, but no less vital. Each successful identification, each neutralized mole, was a small victory against the cynicism and decay that had almost cost them everything. Despite her new focus, the lingering hope that Elias could still be apprehended or, at the very least, brought to justice, remained a quiet ember in her heart. She understood the complexities of his motivations, the twisted logic of his revenge, but that understanding did not absolve him. He was a wound that needed healing, a loose end that demanded resolution, not just for the Mossad, but for her own soul. Through her work, Alara found a new sense of purpose, a profound satisfaction in helping others avoid the searing pain and devastating loss she had experienced. She began mentoring new recruits, her presence a living testament to the human cost of intelligence work. She imparted not just strategy and tactics, but also the crucial importance of moral fortitude, of understanding the ethical tightropes they walked, and of the profound responsibility they carried. Her eyes, once haunted by shadows, now held a steady, knowing light. One quiet evening, Alara stood overlooking Beirut, the city still scarred by conflict, yet imbued with an enduring resilience. Lights twinkled across the urban sprawl, glimmers of hope against the encroaching darkness. She understood now that true victory lay not in the elimination of a single enemy, but in the relentless, unwavering effort to break the cycle of violence, to foster understanding where there was hatred, and to build bridges where chasms had formed. It was a monumental task, one that would never truly end, but it was a path worth walking. A subtle hint, a tremor in the fabric of her new existence, suggested that her path might converge with Elias's again in the future. Their story, she knew, was not fully written. Just as this thought settled, a nondescript, anonymous package arrived at her apartment. Inside, nestled amongst plain packing material, was a single cryptic item, a small, intricately carved wooden bird, a replica of one she had once owned as a child, a gift from her lost loved one. It was a stark, undeniable reminder of her past, a testament to the enduring pain, but also a symbol of resilience, of flight, of hope. The implication was clear. Her journey of healing and justice, of shaping a better future, was far from over. Alara, a changed woman, embraced her new role, her gaze fixed on the horizon, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, understanding that the fight for peace was an ongoing, evolving struggle, a hopeful uncertainty stretching into the unknown.